Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is July 16th. On this day in 2011, a 17-year-old from Port St. Lucie, Florida, committed a crime that defied comprehension. After brutally killing both of his parents inside of their home, Tyler Hadley invited dozens of friends over for a party, while the bodies of Blake and Mary Jo Hadley lay hidden in a locked bedroom. Today, we're revisiting one of Florida's most surreal cases. It's one that raises painful questions about children and mental health. Let's get started. The Hadleys were, by all outward appearances, an ordinary family. Blake Hadley was 54 and had worked for over 3 decades at Florida Power & Light. Known for his reliability and warmth, Blake loved tinkering with things around the house and was the kind of neighbor who always said hello. His wife, Mary Jo, was 47 and worked as a special education teacher. She was the type of teacher that students remembered for her compassion. Friends and coworkers describe her as gentle, nurturing, and deeply committed to her son, Tyler. Born in 1993, he was quiet and bright, but as he got older, things began to shift. He struggled with anxiety, depression, and increasingly erratic behavior. By high school, Tyler had grown withdrawn and started using drugs like marijuana, ecstasy, and Xanax, and he had been suspended from school multiple times. He was even placed in a mental health facility after one particularly violent episode. Still, his parents never gave up on him. They grounded him, they took away his privileges, and they pushed for counseling. Mary Jo especially remained hopeful that she could get her son back on track. But behind closed doors, things were escalating. Just days before the murders, Blake and Mary Jo reportedly discussed committing Tyler to a behavioral treatment program. What they didn't know was that time was running out. July 16, 2011 was a Saturday morning that started out like any other. But for Tyler, it was the day that he decided would change everything. He later told police that he had been thinking about killing his parents for over a week. So that afternoon, while Mary Jo sat on the computer and Blake was nearby in the house, Tyler took a 22-ounce claw hammer from the garage. He swallowed 3 ecstasy pills to steel himself. Then, he walked into his parents' bedroom and attacked his mother from behind. She screamed, she fought back, but Tyler kept swinging. According to investigators, the scene was brutal. Mary Jo had defensive wounds on her arms and there was blood spattered across the room. Blake rushed into the bedroom and saw what was happening. Tyler turned on him, killing his father with the same hammer. He then spent hours trying to clean up. He covered both bodies with towels, clothing, even a file box, as if that could somehow erase what he had done. He scrubbed the walls, hid the hammer, and gathered up his parents' cell phones. And then Tyler posted to Facebook, "Party at my crib tonight. Maybe." By 8 p.m., people started showing up. Word of Tyler's party had spread fast. Kids from school, neighbors, people who barely even knew him all poured into the house. Some estimates say that over 60 people showed up that night. To them, it was just another summer rager with loud music, booze, weed, and no parents in sight. But there were red flags. The house smelled odd, like a mixture of cleaning chemicals and something that no one else could quite place. Furniture had been shoved aside. The master bedroom was locked tight, and Tyler kept telling people not to go near it. He was fidgety, he was chewing on his lip and pacing, but no one pressed too hard because, after all, who would have ever guessed the truth? As the night wore on, though, the whispers started. Someone noticed a dark stain by the bedroom door. Another spotted what looked to be a bloody shoe print. And then Tyler began talking. He pulled aside a close friend, Michael Mindell, and confessed. He said that he had killed his parents with a hammer and that their bodies were in the bedroom. Michael thought it was some sort of twisted joke, but Tyler insisted. Eventually, he unlocked the bedroom and let Michael take a look for himself. And what Michael saw will haunt him forever. It was a room in chaos. There was blood everywhere and a foot sticking out from the pile of debris. Michael stayed at the party for hours trying to process the horror. He even took a photo with Tyler before leaving as his way to preserve some sort of proof. He later told reporters, quote, "I didn't want to believe it, but I knew it was true. I saw it with my own eyes," end quote. The next morning, Tyler's friend Michael made an anonymous call to Crime Stoppers. The tip reached police, and by that afternoon, officers were knocking on the Hadleys' door. Tyler calmly answered. He said his parents were out of town, but the officers weren't convinced. The smell, the state of the house, Tyler's demeanor, none of it was adding up. They insisted on checking in the locked bedroom. When they forced the door open, they found the scene just as Michael had described. A mountain of household items, and underneath, the bodies of Blake and Mary Jo. Tyler was arrested on the spot, and at the station, he admitted everything. He said that he didn't want to be sent away for treatment, and so he killed his parents. Then he threw the party to try to forget what he had done. Tyler was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and was tried as an adult. His lack of remorse was jarring. He sent letters from jail bragging about his infamy, calling himself a celebrity. He even gave autographs to fellow inmates and signed news articles about his crime with Hammer Boy. In 2014, he pleaded no contest. The judge sentenced him to 2 life terms without the possibility of parole. But that wasn't the end. A Supreme Court ruling in 2012 had outlawed mandatory life sentences without paroles for juveniles. So Tyler was resentenced in 2018. His lawyers pointed to his age, his mental health, and his potential for rehabilitation. The judge listened, but the outcome didn't change a whole lot. Tyler was given life still, but with the possibility of parole after 40 years. He will not be eligible for release until at least 2051. The murders of Blake and Mary Jo Hadley left a scar on their community that hasn't faded. The sheer cruelty, the surreal party, and the attempts to cover it all up, it was just something that nobody could fully wrap their heads around. More than a decade later, people still ask, how did this happen, and could it have been prevented? Blake and Mary Jo were loving parents who were trying to get their son the help that he needed. But tragically, their devotion became part of the reason why they never saw the danger coming. This story is a reminder of how crucial it is to take mental health seriously, to listen when somebody is struggling, and to understand that sometimes the signs are there, even when we desperately want to believe otherwise. It's also a story about how you can do seemingly everything right and still not escape the danger that may be living in your own home. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing this podcast. It'll help us grow. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. Until then, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!